am back. I am back. I am back. All right. So I'm gonna share this out before other people come on board. It's reconnecting, and I am live. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining in. Hey, Jacqueline, how art thou? How art thou? Thank you so much for joining in. All right. So I am back at it, and I am still working on this wedding gown. Pull this over here so I can make sure that this gown doesn't hit the floor. All right, so you'll have to watch parts 1 and 3, um, where I took up the top part of this bodice. So I did get it all sewn, tacked back down, and everything. Um, all the lace sewn and tacked down. So now I've got to ease in this neckline, and I've got to sew on the snap. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that now. And I'm going to use my Silamite thread to do that. Are you doing any sewing right now? All right. I'm going to use my Silamite thread because it's already waxy and it's stronger. That's why I like using it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tack this on first. And what this is let me do it this way. You homesick? Oh, hope you feel better. Ooh, that ain't no fun. It's no fun being homesick. I definitely pray you feel better. That pen. Come on. Some pens just don't want to act right. What did I just do with the... Okay. All right, is it Edie? Hello, hello, Krishna, hello, Tristan, hello. Is it Edie, De Kim, Loisa? I might be saying it wrong, so I apologize. I'm just securing lace on the back of that's attached to this corset so it doesn't come out of the loops. So if you secure it at the top, then you'll always know where it needs to start from. Some people, when they on their wedding gowns, they don't know, the laces come out and they don't know whether it starts from the top or the bottom. You always start lacing from the top and work your way down to the bottom. So the trick is to secure the loops, the threads, the ties together right at the top, so you don't have to worry about how long you should pull it through. You just automatically start lacing it up, so it'll never come out. All right. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add this snap in, and I'm using a size 4 snap. That's the larger snap. Is it the size 4? Yeah, it's the size 4. Because you want that snap, you want that panel to stay in. So I'm adding it on the panel, the corset panel, and it was a little bit too big. So I'm adding this snap in there so that she can snap it in place and it'll stay. And again, I'm using the Silamite wax thread to do this because it's waxy and stronger. Thank you all for joining my sewing marathon. Where you all watching from? I'll do that one more time. I have one more thing that I need to do. I'm supposed to be making a belt to go with this. So I have the I did one of, did that come undone? Why did that do that? It's supposed to be strong thread. That's not good. Where's the bottom? Okay, let me go to the next one. Going to be a lot of wear and tear on that snap, so I want to make sure it's in there good. That's my little snips. Got to keep those with me. So you want to make sure that this is on here pretty good and tight. Do that one more time. But yeah, I still have the bustle to add on, and I still have the belt to make. The belt's going to be black. I should have glued that on already instead of waiting to the end so it could be drying. Alright, so that's it. I'm just going to pull that out like that. Alright, so that's on, and the male part is going to be on this part. So what I am going to do, I don't know if that's going to work, but if I've got some chalk, I can mark it. I don't see anything. I don't know where all my color chalk went, but I'm going to go ahead and, it's not going to show up much on this white, but it'll be enough for me to see where it goes. Yep. All right, so just to make sure. Oh, yep. All right, so I am going to secure this now. This is the male part of the snap. Make sure it's on here nice and tight. All right, won't take that long. As I do this, I'm going to ease the neckline and make sure it's on there good. So catch the first two parts so you can see that I'm working on what I've done so far. This is wedding gown alterations. I had to take in the neckline was too big. My customer, she has fuller hips, so she had to buy this gown according to her hips, and obviously because she's smaller up top, the top has to be taken in. So I had to remove some boning up top that's affixed to the shoulder bands, shoulder straps. Um, It really didn't take long to do it. All right, back to where I started. Just gonna tie this off. And that's it. All right, so I'm gonna have to rethread this because I need it again. But at least now that snaps up and it's secure. So that's the corset panel. So the corset and the ties are done. Now this is not, well again, something I didn't make, but I'm doing alterations on. All right, now I need to ease the neckline in here. All right, and that's something I need to clean off before. I'm gonna redo this. Double this up. As I mentioned before in the last video, I'm going to start from one end from here to ease this in. And this is a running stitch that I'm adding to this. So what it does is draws in the neckline to make the neckline tighter. Just basically just kind of a hand gathering. But it's not going to be gathered. It's more easing than gathering. So that's why I need to take in about an inch. You don't want to do more than an inch. Yeah, it's not one of my favorite things, Jacqueline, hand sewing. But you do what you got to do, get the job done, right? Now, I'm not wearing a thimble. I need one of those thimbles that have the fingers out because I sometimes wear nails. But I never really wear the thimbles anyway, and I've got probably about 10 of them. So I'm going to tie it off. That the easing won't come out. Try to run this along the stitching that's already there. That way you can't really see it. I'll go ahead and take this out. I leave those pins there. Usually I try to measure the space, the distance before I start doing it, so I'll know that I come close to the amount that I needed to ease. But I can kind of gauge it and see. Once I press it, it'll all fit just like it's supposed to. Jacqueline, what is it that you like to sew? I see your videos and you collecting your fabrics and your patterns and stuff. I think you told me have you been sewing? You haven't been sewing that long, have you? Like I remember from our last video conversation. Okay. So hopefully that'll be enough. All right, so I'm gonna do this time. I'm gonna like find a tape measure. Um, shoot. It's always keep my tape measure up here, but I don't know where it. Oh, I see it. I don't feel like getting it. It's over on the other side. You trying to master fitting? Uh, Start sewing in January. Okay. So how did you come to start? I'm always curious as to what made people start to sew. I always tell people it was in my blood, my family, everybody. So my mama, my auntie, uh, my grandma, my great grandma, my great granddaddy. But it was my great granddaddy who was a tailor. He's the only one in my family that sews as a do it for a business, turn it into a business. There you go. All right. I got it, man. I got it. Yeah. Hang on, y'all. All right, y'all. All right, you said I've always wanted to learn, but never really had anyone around to teach me. So when the Mimi School came about, I decided it was time. But I could never find clothes to fit me right in the store. Okay. Hey, Miss Sheila, welcome back. What is the slip stitch going to do for the dress? Okay, so it's not a slip stitch. It's called a running stitch, and it's secure. It's drawing in the neckline. So it's an easing stitch essentially is what it is. So I'm easing the neckline, making it tighter and more secure, like it was gaping up here. So instead of it's only an inch on this side and an inch on this side. Anything more than an inch really needs either to be taken out or added a dart added in. But because it's about 3/4 of an inch on each side, I'm doing a running stitch or an ease stitch. And I kind of when she came up, I had to secure it right here. So, all right. So yeah, that's how much it needed to be taken in. This much. It's not quite an inch, but 3/4. So I'm starting from the arm right here all the way to here. If I draw it in, should give me what I need. But I think some of it slipped right here. Might have to go back over it. But on the inside, the lining part, I'm doing a E-stitch by hand. As I do it, I'll draw it in like this. And I'm holding it tight because I want the gathers to stay in while I'm pulling the thread. It's kind of tricky to do. Ouch, keep sticking myself. All right. Yeah, I have to get it knotted so it'll stay. And this side might be a little bit more, a bit tighter than the other side. Yeah, this side is a little bit tighter. How did you learn the different stitches? Um, I can't even say YouTube because YouTube wasn't really around when I was when I was learning it. But PBS, Neiman Marcus, Nancy Zeman, um, people like that on PBS just reading and studying the different stitches, getting books. I have one book that I found this at I found this at an estate sale or a yard sale. I got this book for $1, but this book is very popular. They still sell it now. It's different editions of it. But you see, I got it for $1, and it's a Vogue sewing book, but it has a lot of techniques in it. So I would read stuff like that. I would go to the library during that time when going to the library was popular, and pick up books that would teach me how to do certain things. But Nancy Zeman had a course online. Actually, it was a video rental program online when videos were a thing. Mhm. And you could rent videos for 2 weeks at a time, and she would send you a return label when you rented them, so you could pay for them, and then you would return them when you were done. Of course, if you didn't rent them, return them back on time, they would charge you. But and I'm trying to think, how do we pay for it like that? Because Was it by credit card? Because we have Cash App and PayPal and stuff like that then. So I'm trying to think of how. I don't remember how we paid for it. But it was an online service, and you rent it. Um, and so I would learn a lot of stuff like that from different people that was on the program, you know, different techniques that were of interest. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can see how that kind of curves in up there a little bit. And so what I'll do is I'll take my ham and I'll lay it on the ham on the curvy part and I'll press it. And so it'll conform to that. So hopefully this one came in as much. This one looks like it's a little bit more, but I'm gonna wait till she tries it on to see how it did. All right, so the last thing I have to do, um, there's a bustle on here. Hopefully it's just that one. Actually, it looks like it might be two. Let's see. There's one there. Or is it? Well, that's just the one in the middle. I'm thinking it's just the one in the middle. Yeah. Yay. What is it? Yeah. Okay. So it's just the one bustle in the middle that I have to pull up. How did you? Okay. I didn't think, but couldn't remember what you called it. The stitch that I'm doing now. The stitch that I'm doing that I just got through doing across here. Is that what you're talking about, Miss Sheila? That's a running stitch. Or basting stitch, ease stitch. Okay. So I'm going to put a button up top, but I am going to do a thread loop up underneath this. This is an over bustle. Okay. Yeah, it is a good book. No, Periscope is not. So funny you should ask that because I went back on X. That ought to be a telling sign right there. I went back on X because that's where I did a lot of my. Periscope was a product of. What was it before it was X? Twitter. Periscope was a product of Twitter, and that's where I did a lot of my streaming from. And so a lot of those videos are gone. They're not even there. Yep, they're not even there. All right, so I'm using this twine thread to create my bustle point to make it strong, and I'm doubling it up like this is two, and it's that twine. But it's the same as bustle thread. It's the same as this right here. This is bustle thread. But I usually use a clear button on the back side. Um, hang on, I gotta find out what I did with my jar buttons. Oh, here it is. Have a jar buttons. Hey, Miss Gloria. Hi. How are you? All right, so I'm using this clear button. This is a 5/8 inch clear button that I use because it's going to be on the outside. And so I use it on my dresses, even if it has lace or whatnot. If it's like a dress that doesn't have lace, I try to bustle it underneath, or I try to use cover buttons to bustle it. So I'm doing a thread, trying to thread out here, but it's so thick. Okay. So I put a pin here so I can see it. So this is in the back, right beneath where the buttons are. So right up underneath here is where the button's gonna go. So you see I conspicuously hid, I'm hiding that up underneath there. So I'm gonna sew a button on top right here. And I'm just gonna sew directly from the top. Usually you'll sew it at the bottom. Well, you know what? I will sew it from the bottom. I can reach from the top. So coming from the top, from the bottom. Add my button on there. And remember, this is double, so double threaded twine. And I'll show you what I'm actually using. Okay. Kind of bunch that up under there, but so I'm gonna go ahead and knot this really good. And because it is double that fabric, this is a heavy dress with all those layers of ruffles. So that's why I doubled the thread, the twine, and I'm knotting it about 3 or 4 times. So to make sure it doesn't come out. Okay. And I'm also going to, I've got one end of the button, of the leg of that button loop knotted, so I knotted the other side also, so it doesn't easily come out. See what I did there? So because this is thick right in here, I didn't add a button, but if it's a thin fabric and it's a heavy dress, I usually anchor a smaller clear button on the bottom so that it will capture the weight of the dress and it doesn't pull the thread through and create a hole in the dress. But so there's that button now, and it's on there very tight and secure. It's not going anywhere. All right, so now I'm going to add the bustle loop. Now on this one, I'm going to use another button, and I'm going to use a smaller button. I'm going to use a smaller button like this on the bottom, on the inside, because I'm going to create a thread loop using the same fabric, and I'm going to keep it double. It's a big bucket of buttons, yeah. I just found buttons and cut and okay, I had to put you on mute for a second. All right, so I'm going to sew that button from underneath. Destin, hang on, y'all. Okay. All right. Now I got to figure out where I had it pinned at. When I say this is a lot of dress, it's a lot of dress. Okay. Oh, I found it because it stuck me. Or did it? Something stuck me. I found it. Hmm. Hmm. I'll look into it. Okay. All right. So that's where my thread loop is gonna be. So I'm gonna It's not ideal to have nails, y'all. Not doing this. So I'm gonna put my back it up that thread loop with my clear button. I had already measured where it needs to go, measured it on her. Okay, so I'm gonna take that off. So I make sure I get it in the hole. Okay. Now, if you don't have clear buttons, you can use thread, fabric, like a 2-inch square of fabric, not thread, 2-inch square of fabric. Fold it a couple of times, fold it in half once, and fold it in half again, and that creates an anchor in the back of your fabric. Somebody asked this question on a group site that I was on, but if you are trying to secure your bustle to keep it from coming through the fabric, use your fabric as the weight. You can use the same, like if you're using tulle and it's a sheer fabric, use the same kind of fabric to back it with, so that it's not so obvious. Like you'll see it a little bit, but it's not like putting satin under sheer. Hang All right. All right. So usually I have a. Hmm. It says open now. Oh, okay. All right. I'll hop off and I'll call. All right. You just want one order? Yeah, and then like the extra fries. Okay. Another order of fries. Your daddy said I was okay? Yeah, he said it's fine. Okay. All right. So usually I'll order once I come off. Usually I have a dowel that I use to. Um, I got to get me another one because I don't know what happened to it. But it's a little wooden dowel that I usually use to do my buttonholes. Hey, Miss Valerie, how art thou? But I'm going to use this. Now, you have to be careful. Sometimes I've used pins. Um, sometimes I've used pins like this or whatever, depending on how big your buttonhole is, your button that you're trying to loop over. But you want to make sure it's tight enough, though, once you loop it. You want to make it tight enough where it doesn't slide off the button, but loose enough to be able to get over the button. That makes sense. So I'm going to use this because it's pretty thick, and I should be able to get over the button. So I got to pull it, make sure it's not coming off. So I don't know if you can see that. That's the button underneath. All right. So I'm going to create a knot. So I don't want it to be too tight. I want the knot to be tight. I don't want it to come undone. And I'm going to go through here. I'm going to do it one more time. I want it to be like super tight. I don't want to have no, I don't want it to be, make it easy to be able to come undone. All right. All right, so that's the bustle, and you can see I have a little button anchoring that. So what happens is, so that's what it looks like. Now that's pretty loose, so hopefully that won't come undone. But the weight of the fabric, the weight of the skirt will weigh down, so it shouldn't slip out. But I usually put a pin right here so that they can see where to find the button. Now, ordinarily, if this was a fabric, you didn't have all these ruffles and you were able to see the button loop like that, you could pull that fabric, that thread loop in like that so it's flush to the fabric. But when they need it, I always encourage them to take the pin out before the ceremony so you don't see any pins, and you have to use your finger to pull that thread loop out like that. And then it just goes over. It goes over the button. So here's the button right here, and that thread loop is going to go. Yeah, that's a little looser than I normally like it, but because see how it does, it gets skinny, it's not going to easily come out. Um, it's got to really work itself out of that. All right, so that's the bustle. It only took one loop, looks like, um, from what I can see. I'm gonna have to double check and make sure. Um, I think there was one or two places in the front that needed to be tacked up. Um, so usually on a fluffy gown like this, if it needs to be hemmed in the front, um, I usually just tack it up in a couple of places, so I can see where it needs to be tacked up in a few places. And so I would just tack it up by hand, or either stitch it down on the sewing machine. So I may just stitch it down on the sewing machine. Okay. So right now, y'all, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another break. I'm gonna come back, but I've got to get my family something to eat and call that in, and then I'll come back in. So y'all make sure y'all come back and follow me, all right? So I did say this was a sewing marathon, so I'm gonna, as long as I'm sitting here in this sewing room sewing, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna come back live. All right, so this has been part 3. I'll come back in for part 2. Make sure you catch parts one, part 1, so you can see where I created my color block T-shirt. I just did this morning, and I'm definitely gonna make me some more. So I had an orange long sleeve T-shirt and this short sleeve black shirt, and I made the adjustments to create this color block top that I love. All right, so check that out, part 1. All right, love y'all to life. I'll be back in momentarily.